How's work going?
It's good.
Yeah?
Uh,
Enjoyable?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit stressful,
Yeah?
which is probably why I'm here today.
Yeah? Okay, understand. So like deadlines, or is it,
Deadlines.
sticking points, or like,
End of the year pressure. and then-
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been having like some bouts of anxiety from time to time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did get checked, but they found nothing. So,
You want to cool exercise?
yeah.
Okay, this is really good. So, usually like you have your sympathetic system, when you're like fight or flight or run, and you have your parasympathetic system, which is kind of relaxed. You can drive your parasympathetic system by, so you just relax your hands, and relax your hands. You have to relax your feet.
Hi, for those
And you
online,
just
can
pay-
you see the slides
just pay
on your
attention to them until
screen?
they start to tingle a little bit. Because when you're parasympathetic,
Okay,
you're
good.
blood flow to your skin.
Can't see here.
So when you're fighting, you want blood to go away from your skin, so you get cut away. So like your brain, it like takes the blood flow.
All right,
away and
like
you're
Microsoft
stressed.
style, we'll just give
You
another
can
couple
help to
minutes,
drive blood flow back.
couple five, to get
And it
people
will get
to
you
grab their
more
lunch or
relaxed.
maybe
You'll get
and
out of your head, stop it.
get
You're
ready.
paying attention to what. It's cool. So, and then these stay real heavy, so if you let gravity just like hold you down, that's why I get super heavy, and then I feel my hands and my feet, and then I don't think. I don't think all the time. My wife's like, don't you? No. So, yeah, it's a trick, right? I use it all the time. Hi there. Welcome.
Thank
Your
you.
name, Jeff.
Michaela.
Kayla.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Can everyone hear Jeff as well? I think it's on, right?
Check.
Just making sure that online can hear you pretty well.
Yes.
Thank you, thanks David.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you. I'm Taz.
That's Taz. All right.
Maybe another minute or so.
Yep. Are you ready for the rainy season?
It's always rainy season.
Yeah.
It's not raining today.
No, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I'm okay. I'm just gonna get cold again. I see lots of different people in my practice. Hey, you guys are doing welcome. I see a lot of different people in my practice, and one of my patients is a ship captain. I asked him a question. I was like, "Can you tell me about the weather? Because you're always outside. You depend on the weather. Like, how does the weather system work?" It's simple. There's three things that happen in Vancouver, and once you know, you'll see it all the time. Which way is north here?
North?
North is this
That
way.
way.
Yeah. So okay, so you got the lines, right? The mountains. If the wind is, if you ever see like a flag, I don't know if there's any flags out here, but there's usually a flag somewhere that you can look at. If the flag is getting it's pointing towards the lines, it's gonna rain. You'll see the flag waving, and then you look out, and then you'll see this big storm front coming. I've seen it so many times. It kind of predates when it's gonna rain. And then if the wind switches and it blows, it blows east. Wait a second, that's north. Right, east. So if it blows, east is this way, right? East is this way. So if the wind blows east, it's gonna take all the clouds away. You know those days when it's like super sunny and really windy? It's because you're getting the wind from the west blowing to the east. And it tears all the clouds away. So those are those sunny days. The third thing that happens is the wind blows from the north, and it's cold, obviously. Then there's actually one more thing, there's no wind. And those are the four little that's 90% of what happens in Vancouver. So if you're looking around and it's raining and you see the wind start to blow
Come on in.
west, just wait. It might take a couple hours, but you'll see that the wind's gonna blow the clouds away and it'll get nice. You can be smart for your friends. That's how I'm sure.
All right. Oh, you bring your own table.
There you go.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking about that.
Time to eat.
Okay, well, let's just get started. There are people online, we have lots of people online, hello. And hello those of you here. Welcome to, I think our third session with Dr. Jeff Allman with the Movement Lab. So if any one of you have been, attended any of his workshops, he's really good with all his talks with how you I guess, deal with your body and how you, I don't know, work properly and stuff. So this session is actually a really neat one on gene expression and exercise. I will let Jeff Allman talk to you more about it, but at the end of the session, you could book with them. There's a booking tool because they do on-site RMT, naturopath, and whatnot, and I will show you how to do that because I know a lot of people are like, where do I go and book these sessions? So I'll show you at the end after his talk and a little bit of exercise. I did say in the invite that there will be a little bit of an exercise session. That's why there's a lot of room in the back there for you guys to find a spot to do it, no pressure. And those of you online, same as well. We'll have images of how you do, and then of course Jeff will be right in the front showing you as well. So without further ado, I will start it off and pass it over to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for coming, everybody. So yeah, we've done, has anyone been to the other talks that I've done here, anybody? Nobody? Oh, great. So I'd like to discuss and explain kind of like what the underlying thing that happens inside your body, right? Like, you're all tech related, and I'm just all like biology and physiology, and neurology kind of like specialty. But there's similar kind of things that happen. There's feedback loops, there's mechanisms, there's signaling, there's all these things that you can follow, and there's reactions to actions. So the first talk that I did was on, I wish you could have come to the first talk. First talk was on brain networks. Brain networks are really cool. There's a new, okay, you've heard of like, what's it called? What's it called? There's the big gene study. They broke down all of the genes in the body. They figured out what's there. It was done in 2003. Right now they're doing a thing called the Connectome Project, where they're using big models to break down what are the functional and the structural relations of what's happening in your brain when you're working. And I broke down, okay, so there's these, you basically got two brains. First one is your executive network. And it's a collection of different parts of your brain that all fire at the same time. And it gives you focus. And it lets you do a task. And you have another brain, it's called your default mode network. Your default mode network is when you're thinking about stuff, daydreaming, reflecting. And your brain switches between the two, based on what's important. And then there's this, but this is where things kind of really get interesting. You have this switch called your salience network. And salience means like what's the most next important thing. And if there's like something that happens, your salience network picks it up and then you focus on it. But what can happen, like people who have a hard time concentrating, they're in default mode more than not often in the time. And it's like, oh, I can't focus, what am I supposed to do with it? What we're finding is that like pain affects your salience network and it shifts to default. So when you're trying to work, and it makes sense, right? You're trying to work, you're like, oh, my neck's killing me, you lose focus. So that's kind of stuff that I do with athletes and patients. It's up to like, try to get their executive function in sports and whatever they do. So that was my first talk. And the second talk was on motor control and aging, and just like the processes of like what happens when you're moving. And your brain just takes up all this information, it goes into your sensory map. There's a map of your body in your brain. If you get injured, like your knee might turn like bigger. So your brain tries to utilize, or since it gets red, and your brain tries to utilize your knee, and it's like, oh, there's a red light, I can't use it. So you switch into using something else, and you go into protective patterns. And the protective patterns for like the leg go like this. The protective patterns for the shoulder go like this. Trying to lift weights, someone comes in, they're like, my shoulder hurts. Like, the problem's not your shoulder, it's like your brain has you in a protective pattern, and you're trying to fight through it, and you're straining stuff. So that was what that talk was about. It's like how you can identify that stuff and look at patterns and switch your brain to like get back to this called a subcortical pattern where infants develop through. So it was a really cool talk too. And this one is this is about how you have, again, like there's all these like the in your nucleus of your DNA there's like tons of genes, and exercise starts to activate. So I'm going to explain how that happens and some things that happen with different types of exercise. And at the end of the day, if you are open to doing a challenge, like it's a non-moving exercise thing that we're going to do at the end if you want. It's all based on the infant moving patterns. you're game for it, cool. If you're not, no problem. We can say it, it's fine. But that's kind of like what today is going to be about. I'm having to get Rebecca help me with the slide. I don't have PowerPoint. I said, so she did, thanks for helping. So as you can see, like, we're just going to explain what it is, why, how it works, and exercise stuff. And then we'll look at the booking portal as to like, we have people here that can start working on some things that are about while you're here. If you have any injuries, anybody injured, stuff happens. So if you don't do it, if you're here, you want to get it looked at, it's like we have a crew here to help you out. I don't know exactly where the room is, but it's somewhere around, somewhere down there. Niels, or one of our archies, is going to come in later to just introduce himself. Yeah, okay, so gene expression. This happens all the time. Happens with your being inside your environment. Things that are creating sensory input to you and challenges. So like basically, we have the physiology. Can I get to the next one? Okay. Yeah, okay, so this one. So I studied exercise physiology. So I degree in exercise physiology, and then I went to Cairo School in Toronto, and it's another 4 years of just like getting deep dive into this stuff. But it's pretty simple when you break it down into like how the systems all work together. What you're trying to do is get energy to do something, right? The energy fuels your muscles to move. And I'm gonna explain what happens when we start to break some of these food products down. Because throughout our day, we're breaking down, but we're building at the same time. It's called catabolism and anabolism. So we're breaking down stuff and we're building it at the same time as we're moving around. And as we're moving around, based on some of these actions that we're doing, if it's walking or if it's sitting or whatever it is, the stimulus that your body's getting is going to create a change in how your body creates new products. Because what your nucleus does. So this is basically your cell, right? Like in your cell, there's the nucleus that holds all the DNA in there. There's these things are like mitochondria. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of mitochondria before. I'm gonna explain how that works really simply, and how it helps to create energy. You have this thing, sarcoplasmic reticulum, that holds calcium. And you have vesicles that release stuff. And you have the cell membrane. And then these are all these cells, they talk to each other. So we're going to go into the breakdown of how that all works. Anybody take any physiology classes or any background in this at all?
Physical education.
Physical education? Okay, and then what exercise types, like, does everybody do any like regular activity exercise? Yeah. What kind of things do you do? Badminton, okay. Okay, so start and stop.
Yeah.
Do you get lots of rest when you're playing badminton? Or is it well, like during a game, like during like when you get points, it's a little break and then it continues on, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit, kind of a little bit with spurts, so right? Yeah, a little bit, okay, yeah. And yourself?
Me?
Yeah, sure.
Mainly yoga is my
Okay. Yoga, yeah.
A little bit of running, a little bit of weightlifting.
Okay, so you can mix them all up. Yeah, so there's, we're gonna go into 3 different types of exercise, and one is your aerobic, one's anaerobic, one's isometric. So like yoga has a lot of isometric positions that you're gonna hold for a period of time. That has other types of like signaling factors. Anybody else exercise? You wanna do, yeah?
Mostly hiking and some lifting weights.
Okay, you mix them up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna be talking about what the adaptations to those are.
I'm weightlifting.
Say again?
I'm weightlifting.
Weightlifting?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
General cardio.
Yeah, general cardio, okay, cool. I'm gonna explain some of the adaptations to strength training too, and some of these like genes that are affected to produce some things. Let's see. Okay, so how these cells eventually start to communicate together is through signaling mechanisms. So can you maybe hit this next slide here? Okay, next one. Okay, so when your heart rate increases, what does it push around? Blood, perfect, pushes around blood. And then, what does the blood do?
Oxygen.
Yeah, it takes oxygen, and yeah, and nutrients, yeah. And then oxygen does what?
Has
Yes, it does. So, okay, I'm gonna show you what oxygen does. Why we need oxygen. Because a lot of people just don't know. It's like, yeah, we need oxygen to live. Like, why do we need oxygen? So I'm gonna explain that. But when your heart's beating faster, your blood flow and your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases. And the muscle cells, they use oxygen to function. So you get a low level of oxygen in the blood. And what your brain finds, so you're doing this activity, low oxygen goes down because the muscles are using it. And inside the blood vessels, there's sensors for blood flow. When it increases, there's epithelial cells on the inside. They have little meters that see how far the blood flow goes. And when it increases to a certain point, they release nitrous oxide. And that, it increases the diameter of the blood vessels. It's a reflex that happens when you increase blood flow. It's all like all these mechanisms. And then, and these things called prostaglandins, it's an inflammatory thing that the cell releases. And that also helps you either increase or constrict, depending on the vessel. Is when you're exercising, we were just talking about this earlier, you're shunting all the digestive system down, right? So you're going to lose blood flow to your digestive system, and you're going to increase it to your muscles, right? And then opposite when you're resting, goes away from your muscles, goes into your skin, and it goes into your organs. So we were talking about, and there's a little exercise I would like to share with people if they are like stressed. So I know there's timelines here, there's time crunches, and you get into your head, you get sympathetic, but there's a really easy way to get out of your sympathetic system. And I teach all my patients this. Because when your sympathetic system is active, the blood flow in your skin, it goes to your muscles. But you can drive it back. You can essentially drive your parasympathetic system back on by feeling your hands and your feet start to tingle a little bit. So I don't know if you can feel that when you're sitting there. If you just put your attention to your hands and to your feet, feel the first like the socks and your shoes on the ground, and it might start to tingle. I don't know if you feel it. Anybody feel it? Yeah, you do? Yeah, you do? Some people have a hard time doing it, but when you're feeling that tingling, it's hard to think. You start losing, like, get out of your head, get into your body, and you can change your breathing, and you can shift your parasympathetic immediately. So you can control that, right?
Yeah,
It's really cool.
I just did it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I don't know if you know Wim Hof. Have you heard of the Iceman? You ever done any cold water stuff? No? Anybody? No? Any cold water dips or anything? Polar bear dips? No? Nothing? So this guy, I think his wife died, and he was just in so much grief, and he didn't know what to do. He was like losing his mind, and he was a yoga instructor. He did a lot of. Did you hear about this guy?
Yeah, he dipped in those like ice egg for so many hours
Yeah.
and stayed.
He's great. So what he's done is he's able to control his parasympathetic nervous system, so that it doesn't reflexively shut down. He's able to keep his blood flow going to his hands and his feet and his body. So he's trained himself. So there's ways that you can start to control this stuff. This little game of just kind of tricking your system, it's a good game. If you stay on top of it, you can it's interesting, like if a stressful situation happens, if you're able to stop your reflexes from going into that stress response and keep your body kind of like aware of what's happening, you don't go into these like struggle reflexes. So it's very interesting stuff. So anyways, it's in the sun. Anyways, actually one of my patients invited me to go to Antarctica with them. You might have seen in the paper, he's an athlete, triathlon, Ironman triathlete, and he's doing his 7th Ironman. He's done an Ironman on every continent. He's 26, and he wants to be the youngest person to do an Ironman on every continent. And he called me up and he was like, "Jeff, do you want to come?" I was like, "Yes." I love the food. So that's kind of the there. Anyways, so this is kind of the blood flow. So if we go to the next slide. Okay. Right, okay. So, okay, we got this low oxygen kind of state happening because you're exercising and your muscles are using it. We're gonna explain how that happens and what happens, or like what happens. And inside the cytoplasm, the gel inside these cells are always creating a certain type of molecule. It's called H1FA protein. It's inside here. And it makes it and it destroys it. It makes it and it destroys it. It makes it and destroys it. It makes it and destroys it. Until they find a low oxygen state. And then it doesn't destroy it. Okay, what it does is it combines with another protein that's kind of floating around called H1F. And that's the I can't remember the name of it, but it's a low blood pressure kind of molecule. So basically, it will bind with another one, and it makes a complex. Heat-resistant elements, I think they're called. And they go into the nucleus, and they create a thing called transcription. So there's binding onto the actual DNA structure to unzip it. So it's called transcription, and then there's a thing called translation. We're going to go into this. Translation goes to the ribosomes, and it makes proteins. All these cells, what genes do is it makes proteins. It takes the information from these signaling factors, it goes into the nucleus, it unzips the DNA at a certain point, and it takes a mirror image of that, and it puts it into a ribosome, and it creates a protein structure, and then it puts it in the cell or out of the cell. So it's all about like making proteins from the DNA and shipping it somewhere inside or outside the cell. And so the proteins that this low oxygen state does when you're exercising, what you want is you want more blood to your muscles because you need it. So it starts to make more blood vessels around the muscle tissue, so you can deliver more oxygen. We'll tell you why it does that. It makes more red blood cells to carry more oxygen, and it creates. Do you have grade 12 biology? Yeah. Glycolysis, you know that stuff? Krebs cycle? No, you don't remember that stuff? No, anybody? This is so cool. I mean, like when I was in elementary school, I was like, oh, this is so boring. It's so boring. I don't understand it. But like once you start to understand like why it's happening and what it actually does, it's pretty cool to see. So it increases this thing, glycolysis. Now, okay, maybe we go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, right? So you have, okay, this is where things get really, really, really cool. So in your DNA, you have a ton of genes, and some of them you're able to copy and turn into proteins, and some you can't. They're locked down. It's called methylation. It's a carbon group that's blocking one of these little pairs, right? Who watched Jurassic Park? Dino DNA. It's like the first time I kind of got introduced to that stuff, and they're like doing all this like gene splicing, all this. It's really pretty easy. Like there's like little pairs of different proteins that kind of combine together. But this adenine, guanine, cytosine, this cytosine can get blocked. It's like a little carbon is put on it. It's called a methyl group. And it's blocking it, so the body can't unlock it to open it and unzip it and read it. So demethylation happens when you create enough of, and it's a pretty complicated enzymatic process, and the body does it based on the need. So if there's something in there that it needs, it will figure out how to unlock it, and it will express it. Okay, this is called epigenetics. This is unlocking what you have and expressing genes that are there that aren't always usable. Okay, so epigenetics, gene expression, it's not changing your gene, it's unlocking the kind of closed portions. If you exercise, your body's like, I gotta be able to like make this stronger, so I need to find it and make it. So demethylation. Okay, you might hear I've done I don't know if you've done like blood tests and stuff. I like to do like a full thing, right? When you do a full blood test, you look at your blood markers and you look at like urea levels, and there's like vitamin, like I like to look at vitamin D levels. I like to look at different types of B vitamin levels, and one of my B vitamin levels was super low. And B vitamins are they're useful for like growth, like nerve cells. Sometimes if you're B vitamin deficient, you get tingling in your hands in a different way, not like they kind of like buzz in. So I did a bit of an investigation into it, and my body needs a certain type of methylated B12 to process it. So I don't have the right enzyme to make it. So if I do find that there's some kind of nervous kind of system issues with me, I take some methylated B12. So it's cool. It's cool to know what's going on and how to like easily kind of hack around it. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, so yeah, these things are super long. There's millions of base pairs. So unwinding these things is pretty complex. They're all like wound in like a wool ball, right? So they get unwound, they get opened up, they get expressed, they get translated. So the translation, so transcription is basically you're unzipping this thing, you're making a copy, and it's called mRNA from the cell, and it goes out of the nucleus. And then it goes to page. A chickpea, right? All these pictures I got from this website called FreePix, except for I couldn't find ribosome, so I used a chickpea. So that's my ribosome. That's kind of what I think a ribosome looks like. So but these okay, so like the mRNA gets shipped out of this nucleus, and it goes this. Let's say this is the ribosome. It's not, but let's say this is the ribosome. It gets shipped to this ribosome, and the RNA parks onto the ribosome, and the amino acids get picked up that are necessary because proteins are amino acids built up together in big structures. It picks it up and it makes the protein, and it ships the protein out once they get the stop signal. Then this protein is shipped out, and there's all these different proteins based on the gene. So we're going to go through some of the proteins that are made from certain genes and show what kind of effect it has based on some signaling mechanisms. Everybody follow me so far? Yeah, okay, great. Sometimes I get lost, so we'll keep going. Okay, so that was just a very simple signaling mechanism of oxygen being there. But there are so many things that are getting pumped through your body at the same time. We have endocrine systems. Endocrine system starts with, there's your pituitary gland. It's like in the middle of your head, and it releases a bunch of master control hormones. And then those go down to like your adrenal glands, go down to your like reproductive organs, and they release androgens, and they release different types of molecules that are signaling from the master control stuff. And then we also have growth factors coming from cells. Those things are kind of like built into these little vesicles, and they get kind of squirted out. And those, yeah, so they go through the vesicles, they kind of get squirted out, then they talk to other things. There's also things called myokines. When you exercise, you kind of milk your muscles. And your muscles release things that affect adipocytes, it affects bone growth. So there's not just like mechanical signals, there's endocrine signals, there are these myokines, there's like tons of stuff that's happening, but it all has kind of the same, they all kind of work in the same kind of thing. It creates a signal that goes to a second messenger system. It's a really complicated thing that eventually gets into the nucleus. And then it goes into translation and transcription, makes a protein, and plops it out into the body. Right? Understand? Okay. Good. So we're going to talk about muscle repair and growth because this is good exercise. This is kind of the big topic that I want to keep kind of contained, or else I start pulling my hair out and everything. So the big one that we see, okay. Okay, so inside of a muscle, there are, there's a bunch of fibers, right? Each fiber has a nucleus. And there's thousands and thousands of fibers. They go in these like big myofibril groups, and there's muscle fibers. So if you like dissect a muscle, there's so many actual cells involved, and each cell has a nucleus. So there's all these factories that create proteins inside the tissue. And with mechanical stress, it could be like skipping a rope for like your Achilles tendon. It could be like doing a rotator cuff exercise. It could be doing any kind of like weightlifting or any kind of like dynamic movement with your body. It could be running. It stimulates this big hormone or this big gene that is called mTOR. And it relates to mechanical stress. Like these pathways here, those are all just ways that the cell gets stimulated. I'm not gonna go into it. But what mTOR does is it helps to activate some genes. So inside that DNA strand, there's a sequence of base pairs that are responsible to make ribosomes, which is my chickpea, right? And when this mechanical stress on the tissue activates that gene transcription and translation, it makes more chickpeas in the cell. And the chickpea takes that mRNA and it plugs a bunch of amino acids onto it to make protein strands, and it shoots it out to the cell. Right? And those things are related to, okay, this protein, we want to increase protein synthesis. So we'll make more tissue. Or it will increase, like this one too, this is another gene. They always have strange names, right? Like, that's like a location. And that helps with translation. So that helps with the actual unzipping of and copying of the gene. So you have all these feed-forward mechanisms that help to go back into the mechanism of how this stuff happens. And then, okay, so there's, insulin. Anybody know what insulin does? You've heard about it, right? You know it, right? Yeah, so exactly, it's sugar control. What insulin does is it is released when there's lots of blood sugar in your cardiovascular system, and it sends it into your liver, and it stores it, or it sends it to your muscle and it stores it. And it's stored in your liver is called liver glycogen, I think, and then in muscle glycogen. It just waits there until you need it. We still haven't talked about why, like, how you break down the sugar and what oxygen does, but we're still going to come back to that. So insulin like growth factor is, people always ask me this, Jay. What is insulin like growth factor? Insulin like growth factor is the same molecule as insulin, but just a little bit different. And it binds to the same receptors. And instead of storing muscle glycogen, it helps with building tissues. It's anabolic. So it helps to build like muscle mass, helps with bone density, that type of stuff. So strength training and lifting weights and whatever, it helps to code for making more insulin-like growth factor, which helps the body build anabolic, right? As well as this anabolic and catabolic kind of thing. The second one, I have to go with my cheat sheet. What was it again for? Give me a second. Oh yeah, okay. It's called mechano growth factor. This is another thing, right? There's another signaling mechanism that gets the mechano growth factor to kick in. What it does, so there are these things called satellite cells inside the muscle. And what we found, like for the longest time, when I was in school, I think this information was just coming out, that these satellite cells, they can migrate into the actual muscle, and it can mix with existing muscle cells, or it can create new muscle cells. So you can actually increase the muscle density by activating this mechanogrowth factor gene, which is kind of cool. And then AR genes is anabolic, what is the R for again? Oh, androgen receptor genes. When you are, and this goes with the endocrine system, these androgen genes, what is it again? Oh, right, okay. So these ones activate the X chromosomes immediately, the male chromosomes, and they activate more proteins for bone and muscle growth as well. So these are kind of like some things that happen as well. Follow me still? Question? Are you a little confused? No?
Strength training creates these, right?
Strength training creates a mechanism that signals the tissues and creates a response in the nucleus of the muscle cells to create proteins to help build it. And these are some, there are many. These are some genes that will create certain things. based on mechanical stress. Okay. That's one. Okay, so aerobic training, you all went through the blood pressure increases, the oxygen levels, all that stuff. It also stimulates the some other genes that are important for this PPARGC1 alpha gene. It makes more mitochondria. We were kind of chatting a bit before. Mitochondrial biogenesis is kind of like keeps your energy high, and it's doable. What mitochondria does is we have, okay, so let's say this is a mitochondria here. It's not a chickpea. This is a mitochondria here. They have, there's an inside and an outside. On the inside of it, we go through a process called glycolysis. And we have the sugar stored in the liver. We have the sugar stored in the muscle tissue. And that's the building block of our energy stores. And in the mitochondria, what it does, it breaks it in half. Okay? And it can break it in half without the use of oxygen. And it gives you a little bit of energy. It's the first kind of phase of like your energy systems. If you have, if you look at, there's like a chart, I didn't put the chart in here, it's kind of complicated, but like, you have like, your first, when you start to work really hard, you use this big curve where you have high amounts of energy and you lose it fast. So like it's the sprinters, if you're sprinting, you're gonna use this first phase of the energy curve, and then you're gonna be fatigued, unless you have glucose stored in there. So once you start to like go into like more than a 10-second exercise, you start to use glucose, and it gets broken down into mitochondria. Now, okay, so the glucose is like a big hexagon. It gets broken in half into two parts, and then those two parts get broken down again. And oxygen, what it does is it helps to break it down into more components to free the energy inside of the half of the glucose molecule, and then it binds with the hydrogen and becomes water. So like we need to breathe oxygen to break down the sugars to free the energy into it, and then that oxygen gets bound with the hydrogen and it creates water. Which is pretty crazy when you think about it. It's a mechanism to break down the sugars that you eat. So this gene here, it gets activated to create more mitochondria to break down more sugars to create more energy. And the reason why, and the energy that we use is called ATP. I don't know if everyone's heard of ATP before. No? Okay, so it's kind of like the useful energy currency in the body. And muscles have these filaments in them. There's a head like this and a head like this. And when they contract, or when they connect, they contract. But you need to have, so basically what happens is the calcium binds it and it locks it in place. But you need to use one of these little ATP energy stores to release the calcium. And then it releases the muscle. So you need this like energy currency to unlock your body. That's why when they die, they go into rigor mortis, because they aren't creating energy to release the calcium from that muscle contraction, so they get stuck in contraction. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. So that mitochondria works. Okay, so that's another gene that makes these mitochondrial biogenesis. It makes more mitochondria. AMPK, it's basically it's like a police for, so this energy currency, okay, so like this energy currency has kind of three sizes. It's like, you got a $20 bill, $5, $10 bill, and $5. The $20 bill, you can break down into more energy. The $10 bill, you can kind of break down to a little bit less. And the $5 bill, you can't really break it down any further. So this AMPK is kind of like a police to see how many $5 bills are flying around. And that one, when they find that there's low amounts of ATP, it floods the system with more glucose. So it brings it from liver and it floods it into the system. So that's kind of a police kind of thing that happens with energy levels. And NOS3, that makes it's like the nitric oxide to dilate your blood vessels. It's kind of like what we talked about earlier. So, okay, so we went through a little bit of like strength stuff, some cardiovascular stuff, how they have an effect on like cardiovascular stuff, also like the energy production and utilization of mitochondria. The muscular one obviously kind of builds more of your muscle. Now isometric, so this is one that isn't really, it's not really used that much in strength and conditioning or training very much. But what's really cool about this one is that it stimulates how your brain changes. So so when you're holding like a position, it could be standing for a long period, it could be sitting for a long period of time and holding a position. The tension on the muscle tissue, there's a feedback loop from your spine. So you have a motor signal from your spine to your muscle, and you have a sensing receptor back to your cell from your muscle. And what that does is that signal stimulates your cells to release these, or to kickstart these other genes. So BDNF, I don't know if anyone's heard, BDNF is kind of like the most famous one, if you heard BDNF. BDNF is, there's an area in the brain, it's called your nucleus pulsaris, when you're focusing on something and you're engaging for a period of time, it releases this, it's a growth factor that creates neuroplasticity. And it helps the brain to reconnect to connect in different ways than previous. So isometric exercise, when you're holding something, it can change kind of the way that your brain is connecting to find that movement easier. CREB, it's also a neurogenic. It's not so much neuroplastic, it's more neurogenic. It helps the brain cells grow. And AMPK is, let's check my cheat sheet again. Where am I here? So there's the isometric stuff. This is the kind of stuff we're going to do today in the exercise component if you choose to stay with it. And then can I get the next page? Oh, here it is. Exercise stuff. Okay, so it's kind of like an introduction of like some of the mechanisms. There's multiple signaling factors. There are proteins that it wants to make. And when I did my last talk on motor control and aging, I talked about how you can change these protective patterns. So motor control exercises can help you change protective patterns. So if anyone wants to stay, you can stay. If anyone wants to leave, you're more than helpful. You can leave. But I'm going to show you two exercises if you choose. And this is, you're going to be off your chairs. And I'm going to go to the back. Yes?
Quick question.
Yeah.
So like a pure standing, it doesn't seem to fall in any of these categories. Is it really beneficial or?
Which kind?
The standing.
Yeah.
Is it beneficial or is it a limit?
Well, yeah, it's really beneficial. The body is always searching for the ground. And sometimes when it's searching for the ground, there's a pain signal that makes it not go a certain direction. So you shift. Or you like take your load away from somewhere that's uncomfortable. And when you stand, standing is it's a test and it's a therapy too. If anyone's had a concussion before, anybody? No? Fresh brains? This is great. I've had lots, but I still function pretty good. One of the tests that happen with concussions is there's a sway test. And in the sway test, they're looking to see if your sway pattern is more or less sinusoidal. If you have had some damage to your system, it'll be more erratic. Standing, naturally people will sway. But if you actually stand, you actually do this as an exercise to stand and let your body sway, and take all your tension, because a lot of people will protect away from something that's uncomfortable. And your neck gets tight to unload another area of your body. So standing is really, really good to find how to load through certain structures that your brain gets these like, nope, withdrawal away from. Sometimes those get very painful. So occasionally when I have someone standing, they're like, oh, my foot is burning like crazy. But the goal is to stay on it. And these exercises are based on that same principle, where these are infant movement patterns. And they're variations, well, they're like very hardwired patterns in your system that you develop through. And you're trying to do that same thing. You're trying to like load through your tissues and try to make sure that you don't escape due to a discomfort. You want to kind of cognitively override the withdrawal reflex because these positions are they're safe and stable positions. So we have, maybe you can pop up to the, so this is Tamsin. She worked with us at the clinic. She was an Olympic swimmer. I think she was 13 or 14 for Canada, long distance swimmer. She's really nice. But this is an exercise to professionalize sitting. People are like, sitting is the next smoking. I'm like, no, it's not. Sitting is an infinite movement milestone position that you can train so that you can maintain your stability and endurance through your day. And doing something like this can make your sitting easy. It is automatic. I've done probably, I don't know, 5,000 hours of doing this kind of stuff, and I can sit like a champion for a long time. But it really gets into your hip flexors and your mid-back. It's where a lot of people have a lot of issues. So if you want to do this exercise, we're going to go to the back. I'm going to set everybody up. We're going to do it for like 5 minutes. And what's going to happen is, yeah, come on. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine.
Those online, sorry, won't be able to see them in the back, but perhaps will you be sitting here?
Yeah, I'll go here.
And then,
Okay, so what you're all going to do is sit down on the ground with your legs in front of you, like this. Maybe you can sit here and I'll set you up.
Okay, all right.
Rebecca's
I'm gonna be the-
your coach in the front, okay?
Okay,
So you're
I'm
sitting down.
no Olympic champion.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so what's important for this one?
Oh, geez.
Okay, what's important for this one is you gotta pressurize this thing called your cylinder. It's like if you're gonna get a hook to your abdominals, you gotta pressurize this, okay?
Okay.
Rebecca's gonna cross her arms on her shoulder, on her elbows. What that does, when you're pulling your arms up, it's gonna lock your mid back because you have your lower traps that go to your thoracic and lumbar junction. So Rebecca is in a good position. She's set up over top of her pelvis. You're gonna get her to cough. That pressurizes. You're gonna hold that pressure. You feel that? You're gonna breathe it out. Good. Okay. Now what she's gonna do is relax her head because her head doesn't have to do this activity. Okay. You're gonna sit on top of the balls. Just here. Relax your quads. But you're gonna hold that. You're gonna stay in that pocket. Okay. You're gonna do this for 5 minutes. Okay. So I'm gonna come over. Try to get right over top of your pelvis as best you can. Yeah, you bend your knees. You can straighten your knees. Okay, you need to be right there. And you're gonna pressurize that under. Good. You wanna breathe in while that's engaged. Okay. I need you to be more of a. Oh yeah. There you go. Relax your head there. So I take the things. There you go. Wobble there is bubble action. There you go. Hold it. You gotta breathe. Okay, I'm just gonna come around and kind of help you get into the position. Pressurize that thing. Yeah, breathe it in out. Your head relax. Relax your quads.
Oh, for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, there you go. Very good. It's relaxed. See how tight that head is there? Anyone who's doing it online, just try to wobble your head around. Just pressurize here, so keep that nice and strong in there. Yeah. There you go. You have me right there, okay? That's, yeah, there you go. Keep moving. Good. Good. I've got to get kind of watch what I'm doing everybody. There we go. There, okay? Try to rest. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. So brushing your teeth. Yeah, good. Let your shoulders drop down. There you go. Good. Relax. You got it. It's gonna get you feel like it's aching your head. So yeah, if you're doing this, the places where it starts to tap is your hip flexors. You might feel like you're getting some like into your quads and through. And then you might feel it in your back. There you go. Okay, that's good. Use your hands to sit in. Now, if you need to take a break, you can put your hands behind you. Kind of like, but don't, so kind of like this, I don't know. Just like that. Just behind you. Keep stay your pocket, put your hands behind you. Just let them move your back a little bit, your hip flexors. Before you start to hill. Oh, okay, a little bit more. Yeah, great. shaking. That's really not you. That's good. Relax your head. Yeah, more. Usually people's head are pretty tight in this way. Yeah, I'm gonna help you with this too. Yeah, right there. Drop your shoulders down. Perfect. Good to relax you. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Try your best. Okay? Right? Yeah. There, okay. You gotta control this platform. Don't let that fall away. You're gonna get there. It's starting really, it's gonna be a challenge. We're gonna have to get it for sure. That's good. It's wobbly. Nice. Okay, keep breathing. I'm bending this bit. How's it going there, Rebecca?
Alright. It's been over 5 minutes.
No, it hasn't. No, no, no. It hasn't. We haven't started till later. Just give me. Yeah. Let's do that. Get some pressure there. Here we go. Good. Drop your shoulders over there. Yes. So usually you'll feel in your hip flexors with your back. Yeah, exactly. That's what you're gonna feel like. It's gonna make your quads. There we go. Okay, you gotta breathe. Good enough. Are you not getting anybody? Right, so don't collapse there, okay? You gotta stay on your pocket and just keep your fingers down, but stay over top of your head. Right? So, you know, doing this for 2, 3, whatever 1 minute we can do it for. Just kidding. Do it for the short time. We'll identify where you'll have a hard time creating stabilizers. Alright, we'll do 1 more minute.
So I see some people's legs down.
Some people-
How do you go up?
Some people's legs can bend.
Oh.
If someone has a hard time straightening up their back, their legs need to bend and they can straighten up
Oh,
their
it's
back.
not for that.
Yeah, if your back doesn't curve,
So if it hurts here.
that's what you
so-
want.
Oh.
Who is enjoying this? Okay. We do this class, like I do a class, and I can do a class here on Monday too. You guys want? You don't want? We do this. We go for 10 minutes, to start, and then we get up to 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Okay, you can stop. That's approximately 5 minutes. Yeah, you can stop.
Wow.
5 minutes. Okay, so stand up, just walk around. You should have some kind of an effect. Now, what these exercises do is it changes how your brain is able to recruit. It creates, especially when you're focusing on it, because you have to just kind of survive. Like, nothing's better for your body than you must adapt. It's like the force of adapting. That's what exercise is all about. This forces you to adapt to an infant development position that you all have done before. Some people don't say it, but in the most parts. Who felt it in their back? Who felt it more in their legs or their hips? Who felt nothing? Who thought it was easy? Nobody. Okay, so it's hard for everybody. Okay, so that's the first one, and we're gonna do another one. Okay, this is the bear. This one's amazing for your neck. It's so good. If you have neck problems or headaches, deep your neck. I do this all the time. This is the one for you. If you have any wrist problems, tell me. Anybody? Okay? If it hurts your wrists, I'm going to show you an alternate. I'm going to show it to you first, okay? But what you want to do, you can follow Tenson's kind of first picture here. So her legs aren't perfectly vertical, but you want your femur from your hip joint down, and from your wrist basically straight down from your shoulders. And with your neck, you want to be super high with your neck. So you're going to bring your head up and tuck your chin. Tuck, 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 tuck. Until you feel it stretch over the top of the neck. Hold it there. So that is very good. You're going to tuck your tail down a little bit. Tuck, tuck, tuck. There you go. You want to try to create some length in your neck and back. You're going to bring your hands kind of more underneath your shoulder. And then you're going to spin your elbow pits forwards. But you gotta keep your hands still. So you're rotating through the ground, but keeping your hand in that same position, and you're torquing your shoulders. So your shoulders are torquing, your chin is tucked in high, and your back, you're tucking your tail. So you're kind of stretching out your back. So then you come and help everybody here. Do something for another 5 minutes or so. Okay, let's get you down. You're gonna go on your elbows.
Like this?
Yep, yep. Good, bring your knees up a little bit, closer here. Tuck your chin. Tuck, 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 tuck. High and tuck. Look at that. Even there. Do you feel stretch in your neck there? Good. Keep that stretch. Tuck your pelvis the other way. There, tail. Other way, other way, other way. Yeah, like that. And then hold that, okay? Try to breathe into that area. All right, here we go. Yes, perfect. Take your chin a bit. Keep your head real high. High, high. Tuck your chin. Keep tucking so you start to feel tension in your neck. Do you feel it there? Okay, hold it. Get your shoulders out of your ears. Good. And spin that. It's not safe, it's safe. There you go. Perfect. Okay, tuck your tail. Your shoulders under your ears. There you go. Long, 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 like a turtle. Tuck your chin. There you go. That's better. You feel a stretch in there? Okay, try to find it. That's good. Very good. Move your knees a little closer here. So if you're doing it, bring it closer a little bit. If you're doing it on, at home, do your best to get in this position. The whole idea is you want to tuck your tailbone. So you don't want your spine to round up like you're doing a cat camel. You just want to lengthen, tuck that tail, keep your head high, and then tuck your chin until you feel the base of your neck stretch a bit. Get your shoulders out of your ears. There you go. You try to hold it. Excellent. Yep. Here we go. You this way. Tuck, 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 tuck your tailbone. Other way. Yeah, this way. Go down, down, down. There. Feel that one? More. One more. Yeah, more. One more. There you go. Good. Then here's the bone. Tuck your chin. Try to get your neck stretched. Keep that tucked. Don't lose it. Other way. No, this way. There you go. There you go. And you'll notice there's going to be some things that are going to be hard to coordinate together. Bring your knees a little closer to your. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's good. Very good. Let's go over to you. Nice and long and tucked. Here we go. You need to take a break and go on your forearms, okay? If your wrists are bugging you. Yeah, you tuck that chin. That's good, like that. It's natural. Natural. Yeah, yes. Up higher with your head. Yep, keep that tucked. Good. Tuck this. There we go. Spin this. Then elbow hit. There you go. Like that. Okay, keep that out of your ears. Then your shoulder away from that. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Tuck your chin again. Keep your head tucked, 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 tucked. One more. That. Okay, try to find a stretch in there. Do your best. I mean, this might not be super, super, super easy. The head higher, 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 higher. Well, there you go. There you go. Like this. There. Good. Great. Lock your elbow. Straighten that elbow. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Get this head high, higher. And get the top like this. There you go. Up, 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 more. Push up. There you go. That's where you want to be. Your knees back a little bit. You bring your tail a bit. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to try to get stretched through there. Maybe tuck your tail down. There you go. Tuck that tail. Yep, yeah, that way. There you go. There you go. Sometimes, I mean, if you're at home, you're doing this, it's kind of hard to know what you're doing. So, there you go. Try to stretch there. So do your best. Awesome. There you go. Like that, okay? Don't lose this thing, okay? Get these shoulders out of your ears. Yeah. Head's high, head high. Yep, there you go. You gotta tuck your tail. So I mean, like, in your head, you're rechecking your own body. You're thinking, okay, tuck your pelvis. There you go. Get these out of your ears, that's for sure. Okay. Do you feel stretching here? Perfect. To do anything, that's perfect. Good job. That's pretty good too. Get your head a little higher. Yeah, awesome. Spin this thing. There you go. Get a little higher with your head. Okay. Yep. There you go. Tuck this a little bit more. There you go. Okay. These are your ears. Yeah, here you go. You're trying to hold it. You do your best. Tuck your chin more. There you go. Like that. Okay, so usually when I do class, I go around, I reposition everybody, make sure they're doing it right. Keep holding if you can. If it's too hard on your wrist or your elbows, or your wrists or your shoulders or your neck, go on your elbows. You can drop your head and shake it out if you want. And ding, 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 dinner's done. Okay. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. Okay. Who found that one was harder than the first one? Anybody who thought the first one was harder? By overwhelming majority? Okay. Okay, and sometimes there's gonna be people who think that both of them are super easy, and they found, there's like 7 main intuitive movement patterns that we look at, but they're all the building blocks of movement. So those all play into standing. So they're like postural endurance. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Okay. Because we're done. We did it. If you want, if you're interested in, like, I can come in and host some classes. I'd be more than happy to if there's interest, because this stuff is pretty effective when you have the desire to do it. Really, because it's not easy, but it's good that there's a lot of people here. But I can come in, maybe we can get this room rented or something, and then bring people in who's at home. Come on over, and then I can show you some more, because yeah, it helps with like chronic strains, and it's a good way to like reprogram how your brain gets stimulated to like change how your brain's connected. And this whole thing about like gene expression is the basic idea with this is that if you create a challenge, your body will adapt. And you want to try to figure out what your goals are, and you can design what your adaptations are to your goals. So, you know, anything's possible. If with your body everything turns over so much. You can have like a full new body like a year. So there's it all depends on, you know, what you want to do. But that's all for me. I'll be back again in a year.
In the new year with another talk, but this has been really good, and I know we're like at time, but I do want to show people where you can book time with the Movement Lab. So under MSV, you know, the SharePoint where we have under resources, there's a Movement Lab at MSV, and you click that. Then you go into the page where it says this is where you can book it, little explanations on Movement Lab and where it is. So there's that link, it's on janeapp.com, and once you get in there, that's the first page, and on the very bottom is Microsoft Groundable, book an appointment. Okay? If you have any problems, just ping me, but that's pretty straightforward.
So, okay, we have our naturopath, Marietta. She dives into this kind of like physiology world. Neil, sorry, our RMT is busy right now, he's a client. But we're gonna probably be bringing on another RMT here. And at the moment, I think he's here Wednesdays and Thursdays. So it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, where we have someone in-house doing some RMT stuff. But if there's, you know, if you want some other services, we're just waiting for people to ask and say, hey, can we bring in a, who knows what, like Cairo or anything, yes.
These are all covered by insurance.
Yes, yes.
The question was, are these covered by insurance?
Yes.
And it's like, yes.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to have a service in here, or if you want me to come in here, and you're like, Jeff, can you come in? I can arrange to come in if there's like enough people that want to do it. I live in Montreal, so I fly back and forth. And then, and I'd be happy to like show kind of what we do in the clinic too, as a fix, manually stuff. Because when you do like some manual work and then you do this kind of exercise-based programming, it makes a huge difference in your postural endurance.
Do you guys feel more relaxed a bit? I do.
Yeah.
It's just like these are hard on me.
You're fast. Like it's a neurological hit, and it's very brain-based exercise, and it's motor control exercises. So the good thing about it, they're extremely hard. When you're done, it's like it's done. I feel good. It's not really, you don't really hurt that much after, but you know you're challenging some things that you haven't probably used for a long time. So you might be achy or it's a little sore tomorrow in your hips or your back or your neck from this stuff today. Okay. Okay. I'm out of here. If you want to talk, I'm going to stick around for a bit.
Online? No? Okay, well, thank you all for your time. Thank you,
Thanks for your
Jeff.
attention. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your attention. Turn off I've been recording the session as well.